It is yet another brand new episode of CNB here on the NDTV network. I am Siddharth Vinayak Parthankar. Thank you for joining us. Hello and welcome. This is the new or yet again updated Volkswagen Polo. This car has gone through so many iterations in the last 10 years and yet remains one of the most credible hatchbacks in its segment. Well, I'm not here to tell you why that is. I will just tell you this though, that when I say updated, it's under here. That's what counts. It's got the new 1-litre TSI engine and yes, that's what's changed on the 2020 edition. But today we're not going to talk about this car. Oh no, we're going to talk about the all-new Hyundai Creta, the second generation. And you might wonder why, because we've already brought you the review. Well, of course it's time to bring you the inevitable shootout. The car it has to take on is the car that's been leading that segment for over a year now. It is the Creta versus the Kia Seltos. We're going to talk today about two brothers. One plays it cool, is smart and sophisticated. The other one's a bit of a brat, brazen and loud. Yes, it is Kingshuk.
The Hyundai Creta and the Kia Seltos, two SUVs which are dissimilar and similar in equal measure.
They are of course sharing a platform. There are powertrains that they share as well as transmissions. So obviously the confusion between them then becomes even greater, right?
That's absolutely true. So why don't you sit back, relax and enjoy this video and we'll solve this mystery for you as to which SUV to pick.
Two power brands that are solid and define the success of their respective makers.
The Hyundai Creta and the Kia Seltos are built on the same platform and get the same engine and transmission options.
Now that's a big similarity, but that's where the similarities end and the differences begin.
So the little red accents that you see on the car tell you this is the GT line, and it does make the car look fairly sporty and different, a little distinctive. When it first came out, I remember thinking there's too much going on that face. It is a little overstyled, but classic SUV proportions, I think that's what really made the Seltos really popular. And then you've got all the modern elements like the LED bits, the really large and long DRLs. The car has certainly become very popular. But if I thought that was overstyled, oh boy, I don't think anything could have prepared me for this. Yes, it is Hyundai's new design language. You do see that huge cascade grille. You've got what you saw on the Venue, the sitting down low headlamp with the DRL on top. The shape of the DRL is exactly like what you saw on the facelifted Creta down in the bumper. So they kind of prepared you for that shape. But yeah, this is really polarizing. I still think it looks modern and people will like it, but only some people. On the side, I think is where the proportions start to look a little odd, because the way the car has been shaped, it's got this bulbous sort of look, and then it just kind of ends off here. The overhang is not big enough to give it that nice heft that an SUV really needs. I think the silver element that's been thrown in as a almost like a high-end offering almost takes away from that and makes the car look a little bit hatchback-like, which is not great, obviously, for an SUV. At the back is where I run out of words, because while I love this line, and just that would have been perfect. If you take that away, it looks almost Porsche-like. This though, I know it complements the front, but really, what is going on with the styling back here?
Okay, so that is immensely subjective. Still, the Creta scores on looking big and looking modern. The Seltos is definitely the more traditional, yet obviously more attractive of the two.
In terms of engine options, the Creta and the Seltos get the same lineup, which is a 1.5 litre petrol, 1.5 litre diesel and a 1.4 litre turbo petrol. The fact that the gearbox options are also same is not surprising either. You get a 6-speed manual and a 6-speed automatic on the naturally aspirated petrol and diesel models. On the 1.4 turbo, the Creta gets only a 7-speed DCT, while the Seltos gets a 7-speed DCT and a 6-speed manual too.
Now it certainly feels like a much bigger car than the last Creta, and it is. It has that big car feel as well, and even the seating position, the way that the steering has been designed and the angle at which it sits, the size, it gives you instantly that SUV feel that a lot of buyers would definitely want, because let's face it, these cars are not really SUVs in that sense. They're not big, they're not designed for off-roading. But having said that, what also creeps in with this slightly taller SUV ride is a lot of body roll, which is really surprising considering that it's the same platform as the Seltos, and to me that's a bit disappointing. Handling also could have been a lot better. It's just not as precise, nor is the steering. I mean, it's soft and comfortable, which, don't get me wrong, in city traffic maybe you'll appreciate a lot, but on the highway, or if you want to do some dynamic driving or drive in the hills, you're going to find it's got too much play and it's just not as much fun. And having said that, the one big USP on the new Creta is its ride quality. Now, similar suspension but completely different setup. It is by far the smoothest, most comfortable, even for those in the back. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say, segment best on ride quality.
The fact that the Creta's steering is also tilt only and not telescopic is odd. On the Seltos, you get both adjustments.
Alright, so what about the Seltos? Well, it's amazing how different the two cars are, and in a way it's a good thing too, because they have a completely different on-road character despite sharing so much. It's the suspension and the steering that are going to immediately seem absolutely different on the Seltos. While I've told you about the Creta, everything is a little bit softer and more comfort oriented. It's a lot more dynamic. So if you want to drive the car for the fun of it, if you want to enjoy that drive, if you are going to buy the 1.4 GDI engine for that reason, you're definitely going to enjoy the Seltos more. The handling is definitely better. The steering, it's stiffer, it's a little more weighted, and it'll give you much more precise and enjoyable action, especially if you're driving on a mountain road or if you're driving on the highway. Maybe in city traffic, like I said, the Creta still scores, but sure, I think from a dynamics perspective, it's got to be the Seltos. Yes, the suspension on this one is not a problem. It's certainly not hard or uncomfortable, but it's certainly not as plush or comfortable as the one in the Creta.
So the Seltos is the obvious one to get for driving dynamics and driving pleasure. Its diesel variant also performs admirably, and the Seltos has no perceptible body roll.
The Creta does have the newer car feel though, and as I already mentioned, the more commanding driving position.
Now you've got these different drive modes and traction modes. That's just like the Seltos, it's a carryover. You've got paddle shift on this though, which is a nice little addition to have. And you know what, not everybody uses them, but when you do start using them, then you kind of miss them in the other cars. But speaking of features, I mean, Hyundai always throws a ton of them in. Kia follows a similar philosophy, and yet you'll find that there's a whole lot of them that are on this car which aren't on the Seltos, and vice versa. King Shook's got the complete lowdown on that for you.
Yes, Siddharth, that's right. Both the Creta and the Seltos have pushed the envelope as far as features are concerned. Both SUVs have their own set of unique exclusive features. And talking about the exclusive features on the Creta, it all starts with this full-size panoramic sunroof. Yes, it adds to the roominess, the airiness inside the cabin. Apart from that, you have paddle shifters, and there's this electronic parking brake as well with the auto hold function. The Creta and the Seltos get disc brakes on all four wheels on the 1.4 litre turbo petrol models. The base and mid-level trims of the Creta with the 1.5 petrol and the 1.5 diesel get drum brakes at the rear, while the top spec models get disc brakes at the rear. On the other hand, the 1.5 petrol models of the Seltos do not get disc brakes at rear, while the diesel models get disc brakes at the rear on all variants. The Seltos feels better finished. The quality of plastics, the textures, and even the layout with the 10.25-inch screen propped up on the dashboard feels classically European on the Seltos. The use of soft touch faux leather, the flat bottom steering wheel, and piano black finishes give you that premium feel expected of an SUV costing close to 20 lakh rupees. Right, let's talk about comfort. I'm sitting inside the Creta, and both Creta and the Seltos have the exact same wheelbase, but the cabin of the Creta feels slightly roomier, maybe because of the panoramic sunroof. The front seat, the driving seat, has been positioned according to my height, which is 5 foot 8 inches, and you can see there's acres of knee room here. The seats themselves on the Creta particularly are very plush, soft and comfortable. So if you're one who's going to spend most of his time in the rear seat, the Creta is a comfortable place to be in. While the seats on the Seltos, they're slightly firmer, but there is one big advantage that the Seltos has. The middle seat on the Seltos gets a proper headrest, while the Creta doesn't.
Neither has a 3-point seat belt for the rear middle passenger though, which is a downer.
The Seltos is 15mm longer than the Creta, although the wheelbase, as we said, is exactly the same at 2610mm. The Seltos is also 10mm wider and 10mm taller than its sibling. Oh, and both cars have 433 litres of boot space.
There are a few features that are exclusive to the Seltos too. There's parking sensors up front, a 360-degree camera view, a blind spot camera view for the left and right side, which comes in really handy when you're about to change lanes.
Then you have mood lighting, and more importantly, that tilt and telescopic adjustment for the steering. Even the top spec of the Creta does not have any of these. Both SUVs have a lot of common features at the top end too, like ventilated front seats, wireless phone charging, an air purifier, rear AC vents, an electrically adjustable driver's seat, and some other bits. Both also have connected car technology. The Creta gets Blue Link while the Seltos has UVO Connect, and both work the same way, with near identical features and options. In terms of safety, both cars get 6 airbags in the top variant along with anti-lock brakes and electronic stability control. On the base and mid-spec variants, the Creta and the Seltos get 2 airbags along with anti-lock brakes and rear parking sensors.
The Seltos has been a massive hit for Kia, getting in good numbers and even pipping the previous Creta in terms of sales. But this sibling rivalry, or revelry shall we say, was always going to get exciting with the coming of the new gen Creta, which for what it's worth has topped sales in May and June 2020.
Both models are well equipped, offer decent performance, and while the Kia was the fresh newbie that set new benchmarks, the Hyundai is the well-set bestseller in this segment. So which sibling will be crowned the king? Having spent time with both these SUVs, we thought the competition is going to be more tough neck to neck, right Siddharth?
Absolutely. It was meant to be that way, but it hasn't quite turned out like that. Now, both of them have their strong points. The new Creta is extremely credible, but the car with the edge in this contest, the Kia Seltos. So I know a lot of people may not agree with me, and it may not be the most popular decision, but it was a hard fought battle. The Seltos still does manage to stay ahead, though the Creta certainly has its novelty factor and is possibly the better family car with all that space and comfort. All right, short break time. We're back with more. Welcome back. Now, the TSI engine that goes into the new updated Polo is the one that actually won the International Engine of the Year award in 2018 for its category, and it actually is a big bet for VW in its future volumes models here in India, and it is productionized here now, remember. So a pretty big deal, but I'm not going to talk about the Polo, I said that. So don't worry, I'll stay with the VW group and go to the other end of the spectrum. Audi has its latest model that's just been unveiled globally. It is a new electric again, the Q4 Sportback e-Tron concept.
The future at Audi is curvy, it's dynamic, it's electrifying, and yes, oh so sexy. Showcased at the 2019 Geneva Motor Show, the Q4 e-Tron SUV concept grabbed a lot of attention. But what you're looking at now is the next electric model expected from Audi, and it's called the Q4 Sportback e-Tron. And yes, it is based on the Volkswagen Group's modular electrification platform. The Sportback slopes downward at the back and has the quintessential coupe SUV roofline that transitions into the inclined D pillars and ends in a horizontal spoiler at level with the lower edge of the windscreen. You cannot miss the striking broad light band that connects the two LED lamp units on the rear end of the Audi Q4 e-Tron Sportback. The striking design of the bumper diffuser unit with its horizontal slats and the illuminated e-Tron logo in the middle, that's an element we saw on the Q4 e-Tron as well. Up front, it's unmistakably an Audi with a single frame grille, and it features a structured closed surface within a broad, almost upright octagonal frame in place of a traditional radiator grille. The 22-inch wheels give the car its poise, and draped in this new kinetic grey color, it looks absolutely gorgeous. But let's get to what powers this electric coupe SUV. It gets two electric motors, one on the front and one at the rear, which provide 302 bhp, and of course there's the Quattro all-wheel drive. Subsequently, there'll also be a rear-wheel drive version on offer. The Q4 accelerates from 0 to 100 km per hour in just 6.3 seconds before reaching an electronically restricted top speed of 180 km per hour. The 82 kilowatt-hour capacity battery sits in the underbody area between the axles. Now, Audi says that the axle load balance is almost 50-50, and that means performance will be at the heart of this model. Audi claims that both the Q4 and the Q4 Sportback e-Tron will see a range of 450 kilometers on a single charge. The rear-wheel drive version will be able to do over 500 kilometers though. The cabin seats 4 and is upholstered with comfortable Alcantara material. There's the virtual cockpit too, and a 12.3-inch touchscreen infotainment system that provides you with all the information at your fingertips. So the Q4 will be the 7th series production electric vehicle that the manufacturer introduces by 2021. By 2025, Audi will offer more than 20 cars with all-electric drive in global markets. And yes, India will get some of them.
Hot new design on that hot new Q4 Sportback. Please react to that because it's expected to come to India. And I keep talking about how I'm not going to tell you about the Polo, a little unconventional for our show, I know, but you will get its review on carandbike.com. So don't forget to check that out. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Please wear your seatbelts, please wear your masks and your helmets if you are on a two-wheeler. I'll see you next week.